Welcome to the 18th episode of Bible Sketches. Today we start on the final chapters of 1 Samuel 21 to 31, chronicle David's continued flight from King Saul, Saul's increasing desperation, and the ultimate downfall of Saul and his sons. Here's a summary of each chapter. Chapter 21. David flees to Nob and Gath. David, fleeing from Saul, goes to the priest Ahimelech in Nob and asks for food and a weapon. Ahimelech gives David consecrated bread and Goliath's sword. David then flees to Gath, but fearing for his life, pretends to be insane, which causes the Philistine king to send him away. Chapter 22. Saul's slaughter of the priests at Nob. David escapes to the cave of Adullam, where his family and other distressed men join him. Saul, learning that Ahimelech helped David, orders the massacre of the priests at Nob. Only one priest, Abiathar, escapes and joins David, bringing the ephod with him. Chapter 23. David saves Keilah and escapes from Saul. David saves the town of Keilah from the Philistines, but when Saul hears of David's location, he plans to capture him. David consults God through the ephod and escapes to the wilderness of Ziph. Jonathan visits David, reaffirming their covenant. Saul continues to pursue David, but God protects him. Chapter 24. David spares Saul's life. While hiding in the wilderness of En-Gedi, David has the opportunity to kill Saul when Saul unknowingly enters the cave where David is hiding. David, however, spares Saul's life, cutting off a corner of his robe instead. David later confronts Saul, showing him the piece of the robe as proof of his loyalty. Saul, moved by David's mercy, acknowledges that David will one day be king. Chapter 25. The death of Samuel and the story of Abigail. Samuel dies, and Israel mourns his passing. David, seeking provisions, sends men to Nabal, a wealthy but surly man who refuses them. Nabal's wife, Abigail, intervenes and provides David with supplies, preventing bloodshed. After Nabal's death, David marries Abigail. Chapter 26. David spares Saul again. David again has the chance to kill Saul, this time in the wilderness of Ziph. David and Abishai enter Saul's camp at night and take Saul's spear and water jug as proof of how close they were. The next morning, David confronts Saul from a distance, and Saul again admits his wrongdoing and blesses David. Chapter 27. David among the Philistines. David, realizing that Saul will not stop pursuing him, seeks refuge with the Philistines. He lives in Ziklag, under the protection of King Achish of Gath. David and his men conduct raids on surrounding areas but deceive Achish into believing they are attacking Israelite territories. Chapter 28. Saul and the Witch of Endor. Facing an impending battle with the Philistines and desperate for guidance, Saul seeks out a medium in Endor. As God no longer answers him, the medium conjures up the spirit of Samuel, who foretells Saul's defeat and death in the coming battle. Chapter 29. The Philistines reject David. As the Philistines prepare for battle against Israel, the Philistine commanders refuse to allow David and his men to fight alongside them. Fearing David might turn against them, Achish reluctantly sends David back to Ziklag. Chapter 30. David's victory over the Amalekites. Returning to Ziklag, David finds it destroyed by the Amalekites, who have taken the women and children captive. David pursues the Amalekites, defeats them, and recovers all the captives and plunder. He then shares the spoils with his followers and the elders of Judah. Chapter 31. The death of Saul and his sons. In the battle against the Philistines at Mount Gilboa, Israel is defeated. Saul's sons, including Jonathan, are killed, wounded and facing capture. Saul falls on his sword, taking his own life. The Philistines desecrate Saul's body, but the men of Jabesh-Gilead retrieve and bury it honorably. Key message. The final chapters of 1 Samuel depict the tragic end of Saul's reign, marked by his disobedience, desperation, and ultimate downfall. In contrast, David's loyalty to God and his moral integrity are highlighted, setting the stage for his rise to kingship.